Do not sleep on the Seattle Seahawks, as they are one of the top 10 teams in the NFL, even if by the eye test sometimes it's not adding up. Last week, I did a PFF video where I talked about the ranking at every single overall grade that they've had and where they rank against the rest of the NFL. And that's what I'm doing again. Not only do the Seahawks have the 7th best record, or tied for the 7th best record at 5-2 in the NFL, they're technically at the same spot as the number 2 team. They just played one less game. If you look at the current standings in NFL, the only team with one loss is the Philadelphia Eagles. But then you go to, there are 5 teams that are 6-2, and then the Seahawks are right after them at 5-2. We just had a bye week. We've beat one of those teams in the Detroit Lions, and we're playing one of those teams, the team right above us, the Baltimore Ravens, this week. So we're going to learn a lot about the Seattle Seahawks and how good they really are. If they end up beating Baltimore on the road and Detroit on the road, two teams that are at 6-2, it shows a lot about how good this team is. And they're sitting at first in the NFC West, and there's a lot of numbers and statistics and grades that really show how good this team is. Even if, by the eye test, like I said, it didn't look so great last weekend. It didn't look so pretty the way they finished off. It didn't look pretty against the Bengals. It didn't look pretty against the Rams in week 1 when they lost. But overall, they still sit at 5-2, first in the NFC West, and have found a way to be really good. And I think that's all that matters, is what is the result? Not just how good does it look, how flashy is it, what is the result is what matters. So while they are 7th in record, which is actually technically tied for like the 3rd best record, 7-1, 6-2, 5-2. They're also 8th in overall PFF grade in the entire NFL. So it's a good example of how good they are. This is how it goes. You have Miami Dolphins at 93, the San Francisco 49ers at 92, Baltimore Ravens, who we play this weekend, at 88. Number 4 is the Detroit Lions, who we've beat. They're at 87. At 86.4, at number 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. Number 6 is the Buffalo Bills at 85.9. And the Philadelphia Eagles are at 85.5. And then right after them, number 8 is the Seattle Seahawks at 85.4. So currently, we are 8th in the NFL. The teams that are ahead of us is one team in our division in the 49ers. But the team, we're actually ahead of them in the standings. The Detroit Lions are ahead of us, who we beat on the road. We beat them in Detroit. The Ravens at number 3. We play them this week. It's going to be tough. You have the 49ers at 2, and we're going to play them twice. So that's going to teach us a lot, that they're a good football team. We all know that, despite how Brock Purdy's been playing. And we play number 7, the Philadelphia Eagles, who actually have the best record in football. And we play number 5, the Cowboys. So we have a 4-week stretch from Thanksgiving that goes Thursday night against the 49ers, Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. So that's the number 2 team, the number 5 team. Then we play the Eagles, the number 7 team, and then we play the number 2 team again, the San Francisco 49ers. So there's going to be some point where we've played almost everybody that's in the top 10 right now. But the Seahawks are still chugging away and sitting at 8th in overall PFF grade. Let's get to the offense. And I will say, this whole video is going to prove essentially how balanced the Seahawks are. And that's the purpose of doing these every week. They sit at 7th in offensive grades. So one spot up of where they were in overall rating, between offense, defense, special team. Offensively, they are at 7th. They are only behind number 1, Miami Dolphins, number 2, Detroit Lions, who we beat, number 3, the Buffalo Bills, number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 5, the Minnesota Vikings. Shout out Kirk Cousins. I hope he recovers from the Achilles. That sucks. They just started to get hot. Ruptured his Achilles. They're going to drop out of that list sooner than later. Josh Jacobs is the quarterback. I just had to say shout out Kirk. I'm actually a big Kirk Cousins fan. Just like him as a person, the man that he is. Always underrated, I feel like. Sucks that he ruptured his Achilles. Number 6 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the Seattle Seahawks sit at 7th. Right above the Rams, Ravens, and Chiefs. Now, the Seahawks, offensively, to be at 7, means there is a lot of balance. As we all know, and this is not going to be hate. You can say whatever you'd like, but it's not hate. Geno Smith has not been the same quarterback this year. you can call it what you want. You can say he's, oh, it's the whole team, we're still winning games. I agree with all of it. Whatever. We're still winning, so I could care less. If it ends up working out, if he can get a little bit closer to what he was last year, this team's going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the NFL, so that's cool. All in all, he's just not been playing as good as last year, and that's not a shot at anybody. It's just the reality. He broke some franchise records, like for passing yards last year, whatever it was. So it's hard to live up to that, obviously. It's like saying Jalen Hurts is not playing as good as he did last year, which is true, and they are 7-1. Same with Brock Purdy's not playing as good as he was last year. They're 5-3, and they're pretty high up in all grades. But the Seahawks, despite the quarterback play being, I would say, slightly above average. It's not below average or at average. Average is like, I don't know, Baker Mayfield play at like 15th, 16th best quarterback. Geno's been slightly above average. A lot of moments he's showed up in. They're at a 77 grade. They're only 9 grade points, which is a big difference, but not like, it's not crazy. They're 9 points away, essentially, grades from the Dolphins. But number 2, Dolphins are at 86.5. Number 2 is the Lions at 82.1. The Seahawks are at 77. So there's not that huge of a gap between 2 and 7 here. So the Seahawks offense overall has been great, and we're going to get to why they've been great. And we'll start with the passing game. The passing game has actually dipped. Unfortunately, I think after the last couple of weeks, I believe last week in the PFF rankings in passing, the Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken, were either at 7th or 8th. They're down to 11th this week, and that, there's a lot of factors. One factor is, like I said, Geno Smith's not been playing as good as we're used to. You have the Cowboys ahead of us. They've been playing good. The Eagles, the Rams. I mean, I know Stafford's hurt now, but the Rams offense, forget about how bad they've been. I think their defense, their tackling grades in the red at like a 37. They've been really bad. 63 grade on defense. So it's their offense is keeping them alive. Chiefs, Jags, Ravens, Lions, Vikings, Bills, Dolphins. All those people, all of them make sense where they are in the passing grade. 11th. So it's not bad. It's not great. To put it in perspective, the 49ers and Brock Purdy, their passing game's at 68, which is 18th in the NFL. So if you think they're struggling or you think we're struggling, you can see who's struggling a lot more. Like, it's the 49ers. That's not I'm not trying to start a rivalry here. Like, I know they are our rivals, but I just mean that in a term of everybody talks about how the 49ers are struggling, but also everyone talks about Geno Smith struggling. Like, is he that good? Well, there's a huge difference right now between the passing game for the Seahawks and the 49ers. They sit at 75.4, 11th, and I think it's only going to get better from here. This weekend might be hard. The Ravens have a very tough defense, but we're going to be all right. Now, this is where it gets interesting to me. There's a lot of things you can say to why Geno Smith's maybe not having a good as of a year as he did last year. There's a lot of reasons you could say he's just regressed, or last year was an anomaly, or last year was his, as best as it's going to get. And remember, side note here, I'm not saying he's awful. I'm not saying he's playing bad. I'm just saying it's not as good as last year. The pass blocking grades on PFF. The Seahawks sit at 24th out of 32 teams with a 57.7 grade. 24th. I think last week they were at 22, so they've gotten worse. This is why the offense is not top 10 and it's at 12. If the pass blocking was a little bit better, if we were like, let's say in Houston's range at 67.1, you're at 15th instead of 24th. They have a rookie quarterback. He's playing really good because that offensive line's at least holding up their job. The Seahawks have had so many injuries at offensive line. They've had so many people rotating. There was one point where we had 41-year-old Jason Peters in the game playing offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. That tells you everything about where the offensive line stands right now. So it's not hate on them, but that's why the passing game has not been as good as probably what we're used to. 24th out of 57.7 grade. Now put that in perspective. It's, the teams below us start to really dip below 57. If you look down to 32nd, the worst team in football for pass blocking is the Giants. They're at a 34.6. And then you look somewhere in between, like the New England Patriots at 29th are at 48.3. So 57 We are a grade or 2 points away from creeping towards number 19 or 20, where the Titans and Cowboys are. There is a big gap between us at 24th at 47 and even 25th, the Saints, at a 54. So we're 3 grade points above anybody below us. But 24th is not a good sign. So that's where the struggles come from. As long as Cross, Lewis, everybody stays healthy, Evan Brown, and you can get back Abraham Lucas, things should get better, but Lucas is just taking a long time to get healthy, unfortunately. But here's a point where our offense stays alive very well. Number 3 in receiving grades. You have the 49ers. See, this is what's interesting. The 49ers and Seahawks both are in the bottom 10 in pass blocking, and they're both like at 12 and 18 in passing grades. But the reason the offense overall, they both sit in the top 10-ish or top 12, is because they're receiving. And for the 49ers, their running's insane. But the receiving grades are really high. The 49ers have the number 1 receiving grade in the NFL at 87.9. Number 2 is the Miami Dolphins at 84.8. And then you have the Seattle Seahawks sitting at 3 at 79.5. That puts us ahead of the Bills, Chargers, Lions, Texans, Falcons, Vikings, Eagles, Chiefs. We're high up there. It's the San Francisco 49ers, the Miami Dolphins, and the Seattle Seahawks. So this is where last week on Twitter and a lot of media places, there was so much DK Metcalf hate, right? I probably posted on my page on the community section on YouTube many times. The Seahawks are so lucky to have the receiving core they have. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, obvious. The last 2 games this season, we have had touchdowns. Both games from both Jake Bobo, undrafted rookie, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, first round, 20th pick in the draft, rookie. We have 4 reliable wide receivers. Now, Jake Bobo is probably more he gets 2 or 3 targets a game. He got a rushing touchdown last game, but they get him involved. But you have DK Metcalf who gets, 10 to 12 targets, and Tyler Lockett who gets 8 to 10 targets. And now you're having Jackson Smith and Jigba who's getting 5 to 8 targets. And then you have Jake Bobo who gets 3 or 4 targets. Plus they're trying to mix him in other ways, like running him on the goal line for a touchdown. The receiving core is insane. I actually believe we have a better receiving core than the 49ers. I wouldn't say maybe the Dolphins. Dolphins are hard with Waddle and Hill. They're just so dynamic. We probably have deeper. Their top 2 guys might just be excelling even more, but those 3 offenses have insane receiving cores, and the Seahawks should be really lucky where we're sitting because DK Metcalf's young, Jake Bobo's young, Jackson Smith and Jigba's young, and Tyler Lockett's just seems like that guy. He seems like the Bobby Wagner of the offense, where he's just going to last another 5 years just being good because that's what he does. So we are very lucky to have that, and that's keeping our offense really balanced. Because I think we are at the same grade. We are at 11th in passing. We are 12th in running. Our running grade, or rushing grade, is at a 77.6. And we are far away from number 1. Number 1's the Miami Dolphins at 93.4. And the next 3 is going to surprise you. It's going to tell you why this league is so pass heavy now. Number 2 is the 1-7 Arizona Cardinals at a 92.1 grade. Number 3 is the 2-6 Chicago Bears at a 90.3 grade. And number 4 is the 3-5 Los Angeles Rams at an 87.8. And I'll do one more losing team. Number 6 is the 3-4 Tennessee Titans at an 84.1. And let's continue. Number 9 is the 3-5 Denver Broncos at an 81.7. So you have, 4 losing teams, 5 losing teams, losing record teams in the top 10. You have 3 out of the 4 top 4 teams in rushing grades are 1-7, 2-6, and 3-5. So I'm okay with the Seahawks being next to the Chiefs at 10, Lions at 11, Seahawks at 12, Ravens at 13th, and we have a 77.6 grade. That's going to be fine. Now, what that means, though, if we break it down one more time, what that means is we got to make sure that passing game just gets a little higher. I want that passing game at 5, 6, 7 if the rushing is going to be at 12. But as you can see, some of the best teams in football, it's okay to be around a 12th grade. So we'll live with it. Now, the run blocking. So it seems like that's why we're sitting at that 12th spot, because the offensive line, and this is where our overall grade, our overall offensive grade is okay. even though the pass blocking's at 24 and, the passing's at 12 or 13, whatever it was, the reason that a lot of things are working out is you also, when you go from pass blocking to run blocking, the Seahawks are actually really good at run blocking. They are sitting at 7th in the NFL at a 68.7 grade. And that's only a grade or 2 grade points away from the Colts, 49ers, teams that are at 4 or 5. The run blocking is really helpful for this team. That's why we're a balanced offense. Now, while the pass blocking's been bad, we've been able to at least get some big runs in certain moments, and it helps balance out the offense, and it helps create situations where we're able to, at the end of a game, for example, Geno Smith can go down and, drive down and score a touchdown because this offensive line has balance. It's not great in the pass, but it has balance. It's good in the run at 7th in the NFL. It's time. It's time for the defense. I think there's a couple less categories for the defense, but for defensively, now this is where this is why the overall grade's balanced. The defense is sitting at number 7 in the NFL at a 77 grade. Here's the order. Number 1, San Francisco 49ers. Number 2, New York Jets. Number 3, Miami Dolphins. Number 3, tied for number 3, Baltimore Ravens, the team we played this weekend. Number 5, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 6, the New Orleans Saints. And number 7, the Seattle Seahawks. We know this team's balanced. Safeties are good. Corners are good. Linebacking is good. The defensive line was probably our least active, or I guess our least good position, like talent-wise, but they were still doing really good in the pass rush. They're still doing good in tackling. This is what surprised me about this defense is while the names, you have Quandre Diggs, Julian Love, and Jamal Adams at safety. At the corner position, everybody's played good from the Trey Browns to Michael Jackson to Devin Witherspoon to Tariq Woolens. Everybody's done well this year. The linebackers with, depends how you consider pass rush linebackers, but Boye Mafe has been great, and Uchenna Nwosu was great before he got hurt, unfortunately, season-ending injury. But Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner, great. They've had phenomenal seasons. The defensive line is where, Jaron Reed, he's had a good season. Draymond Jones has been good, but maybe not up to the standard we were expecting him to play when we first, he became, I think, our highest paid player. We were expecting something bigger. But they brought in Frank Clark now after the Uchenna injury. And now they brought in Leonard Williams in a trade, which I made a video about here. That changed the game. It really did. And so we're going to even see the pass rush take another level. Leonard Williams might not statistically look as phenomenal as people think he once did. But I saw the best example as he's one of those guys that because of what he does, it was on Seattle Sports Radio. The guy said he saw no drop-off between 2016 and now. What's happening is he causes so much havoc in the middle that other guys end up getting sacks over it. And he can play versatile. He can play a little inside, a little outside. So that pass rush is going to change. That defensive score might go up. They might surpass the Saints and Cowboys and move up to a 5th, 6th. It depends what happens in Baltimore this week. But we are sitting at 7th at a 77 grade. Rush defense is also 7th. So that's showing some of the balance already. We're 7th overall in defense and 7th in the rush defense at a 72.5. So overall, right now, every category outside of passing, I believe the Seahawks are somewhere in the top 12. They're top 12 in overall. They're top 12 in offense. They're top 12 in pass block and pass. They're not. They're doing great in receiving, run blocking, defense, rush defense. You'll see the balance here. Sitting at 7th. Now, this is where the defense would probably take a big step up. This is like the pass blocking on the offensive side. Where on the pass blocking side, if they were a little bit better at pass blocking, they would be in a situation where they're in the, a little higher up on offense. But they are sitting at 14th in tackling at a 64.4. If they can get that up, we are moving up from a 7 or 8th defense to a 5 or 6. That causes big plays. That causes issues. Can't be at 14th in tackling. The pass rush. This is what I love to see. Like I said before, we don't have the biggest names going into the season. We had Draymond Jones, yes. We had Jaron Reed, who've been phenomenal. I'm not hating. But everyone talks about Witherspoon and Woolen. Everyone talks about Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Julian Love. Bobby Wagner's back with Jordan Brooks. Everyone was always worried about the Seahawks line. They've done great in the run defense. And by great, I mean doing well. And now in pass rush, they're number 7, only behind the 49ers, Browns, Cowboys, Eagles, Bengals, and Dolphins. That's a great place to be sitting at. I'm happy with that grade because now bringing in Leonard Williams, the rush defense will probably move up a couple spots. The pass rush will probably move up a couple spots. And this defense, if the pass rush goes from number 7 and number 5-ish, this defense goes from number 7 and number 5. And once you're at a top 5 defense, and if that offense sits around 10, 11, 12, we're talking about offense and defense both in the top 10. Last but not least, coverage. Coverage hasn't been as good as you would think, considering the guys we have, but we do have a second-year guy in Tariq Woolen. We do have a first-year guy in Devin Witherspoon. We do have a bad week 1 on our resume. We do have some injuries that happen throughout the season, but they sit at 11th at a 77.7 grade, which you can see is still in the green, so you can't complain about it too much. It is good where it's at. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is good where it's at. If you're in the green, your defense is almost in the top 10 in every category other than tackling. You're almost in the top 10 in every category on offense. You can see why now, with all those overall, that the Seahawks sit at 8th overall. And there's one more aspect in the last category we're breaking down today's special teams. The Seahawks sit at number 2. Number 1 is the Saints at 90.9. And number 2 is the Seahawks at 90.7. So let's break that down. Offensively, the Seahawks sit at 7th at a 77 grade. On defense, they sit at 7th at a 77 grade. I feel like that should be wrong, but it's right. 77 on offense, 7th. And 77 on defense, 7th. And number 2 in special teams at a 90.7, which puts them overall at number 8. A little drop off. It's because of that offensive line. It's because of that coverage. Because of that tackling. There's a couple things. Pass blocking needs to be fixed. Tackling needs to be worked on. And coverage needs to be worked on. But that puts them at 8 overall after 8 weeks in the NFL in the PFF grading system. I will do this again after week 9. You'll probably find it on my page on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And if you enjoy, let me know that you enjoyed it. And let me know what else you want to see on this channel. I love you guys so much. If you want to support us or our brand, SeattleOnTap.com. That's SeattleOnTap.com or at SeattleOnTap on all platforms. That's the brand, all Seattle sports stuff. And me, you can find me anywhere at Sammy on Tap, SAMI on Tap. Same name as this page. Go find me on Twitter if you love Seahawks Mariners talk, because that's what I'm doing all day, every day. Love y'all. Peace.